Welcome everybody to this online masterclass of the project NAT, Nature Arts Technologies. This is the first of two masterclasses which come before the International Eco Arts Residencies, which are at the core of the NAT Nature Arts Technologies project. A project which is promoted by ITI Italy, Italian Center of International Institute, in partnership with the Cyprus Center of the International Institute, a Union of Theaters of Romania, UNITER, Human Development and Culture International School from Georgia, and the Augmented and Virtual Reality Laboratory of the Department of Engineering for Innovation of the University of Salento from Italy. A project started several months ago with a lot of activities, including workshops in all the countries involved, which are, as you could understand, Italy, Romania, Cyprus, and Georgia. And now we are really getting into the heart of the project with the master classes and with the 3 Eco Arts residencies, which will be held in Cyprus, in Kalopanaiotis village. The title of the Eco Arts residency will be Of Water and Wine. Then in Sfântu Gheorghe in Romania, with the residency The Other Is Me. And finally in Lecce in Italy with the residency Nature Is Us. So already from the titles of the residencies, you can understand that at the core of the project are ecological theater practices, intercultural practices, as well as gender equality practices. The ecological dimension, which will be explored also in the masterclass of tomorrow by the artistic director of the project, Fabio Tolledi, is essential in the project under different aspects, either in the site-specific performances, which will be prepared by the international group of artists selected for the participation in it, and also for different eco-artistic activities involving the local communities and the local artists. You can know more about the project also taking a look at the website natproject.eu. So today we start with a very important topic of the project, which is cultural diplomacy and international cooperation in arts, because the project aims to promote the mobility of artists from different countries who will be involved in the activities of the Eco Arts residencies and also in the preparation of the joint international performance directed by Fabio Tolledi and based on some texts of Marguerite Duras, in particular, The Malady of Death and The Lover. The title of the performance that will be prepared is Love in Times of War. So we will reflect on this very urgent topic through our common artistic work that will see the participation of Georgian, Romanian, Italian, Cypriot and Turkish artists. So welcome to all, and now I'm very pleased to give the floor for this first online masterclass to Professor Levan Khetaguri. I will make a short presentation of him. Professor Khetaguri is an international expert in performing arts, theory and practice. He's a UNESCO International Theatre Institute Worldwide Executive Council member, board member of UNESCO International Theatre Institute Performing Arts Higher Education Network, and the coordinator of UNESCO Chair of Georgian Technical University. He's the director of the Arts Research Institute and Gurdjieff Institute in Tbilisi, Georgia, and author of more than 100 scientific essays and books, especially on the topics of Polish theater, UK theater, Gurdjieff, and Shakespeare. He has made many translations and he managed more than 300 international projects. He's an experienced curator and manager of various creative and multidisciplinary projects and festivals, producer of different performing arts projects as well. Finally, he's member of European Cultural Parliament and a member of various boards and juries of different festivals. So we have the honor to have this very valuable speaker with us. Welcome, Professor Khetaguri, who will tell us more about a very important topic, which is cultural diplomacy and international cooperation in arts. How can artists can bridge connections with the people and networking with the other countries, related also to very urgent topics which are also shaking our societies. Thank you, Levan Khetaguri, and I am very pleased to give you the floor.
Thank you, Roberta, very much for your kind presentation. And hello, everyone who attends this meeting. And special thanks to Italian Center to initiate this project and all partners who are involved in it, because I think this is very important nowadays, the cooperation between countries. And one of our topic is uh, international cooperation in performing arts and cultural diplomacy. And now I will share with you PowerPoint which I prepared especially for you, because today I try to mix and to show more applied side of international cooperation, as well some historical data, because sometimes we need to have kind of reference to the history to find out where we are now, and something what we doing always and never make the names and never use definitions in different time of the history. It's why I present today some aspects from the history and something what happened today. And to start with PowerPoint, can we share, or I need to do it?
Yes, please.
Um, Uh, First of all, I think that what I would like to share, this is that I think on my point of view that cultural diplomacy start from the festivals from the ancient time. And if you go more into the details of how festivals was organized, we can find that one of the important components was diplomatic approach with Athens in Greece used 26 centuries ago. It's why I think that generally the nature of arts related with diplomacy. And of course, arts and culture always used for the mediation between different groups of society. And later it became also as instrument for the mediation between countries too. And performing arts itself, it's dialogue. And we know that diplomacy is also the dialogue. And in this regard, we can find a lot of common between performing arts, nature, and diplomacy. It's why in ancient Greece, when festivals was organized, it was very important to have the first day of the festival when the partner states, at that time we have the policies, which was city states, and all the partners were invited to attend the festival. And it was the diplomatic approach of the festivals used from very beginning when the theater was origin and the festivals was origin. And the unique human creation is how theater was and festivals created as competition and as replacement of wars and violence, because at that time there was a lot of war between cities, between countries. And this was very unique idea of ancient Greeks when they proposed to neighborhood to have competitions through festivals, through Olympic Games, through different games organized in different cities as the alternative of wars and violence. And I think this is one of the very big uh, experience which we have through the history of performing arts, how it was used from very beginning. At same time, this is of course beginning of cooperation, and very slowly the ancient process of theatralization of different cities. It's also kind of international cooperation on a very yearly ages of our existence as performing arts professionals. And of course, one of the main question always why cooperation and why international? Because we are looking for diversities, and this is very important. We are looking for recognitions, we are looking for common souls, and we are looking for the dialogue and understanding from other countries, other different group, people, etc. And cooperation it also gave us chance to introduce ourselves, and this is quite important for performing arts as one of the main tools. And at the end, a lot of artists have ambitions to become world famous artists and creators. uh, Come back to the first festivals. I just would like to remind you some main aspects, because ancient festivals they sell tickets, which means that this is also kind of commercialization of arts. The venues are constructed in different cities. The Athens was the first one, but later many cities start following the Athens traditions, and we can see now a lot of amphitheaters in different countries, now different countries, but at that time part of the Greek culture and cities. And when we start to look at this point, we can find that how it was exported. Know-how which was created in Athens, it was exported. Exporting was also on the level of writers, texts, actors, etc. And this is, of course, we can consider as creating performing art industry, one of the earliest industries in arts, because you can imagine that this, for a long time, for many centuries, performing arts was most powerful with the number of audience. There was no other competitive art forms in Western history. And of course, the commercialization is very important on the one hand, and on another, it was cooperation and cultural diplomacy in practice, as I mentioned at the beginning. Why we export the culture? And here we can find several answers on it. First of all, culture very important for politicians. For many centuries, culture was used by politicians before the cultural makers didn't find the legal basis to be more independent than they were at the beginning. And we have this long process how artists reach independence. And of course, cultural dialogue is very important. Showing intelligence and introducing culture means introducing our identities, because now culture is one of the main tools for different countries' identities, because when we talk about identities, cultures come first, and this is very important tool till now for many countries to introduce. And through culture, looking for respect, it is strong tool for cultural diplomacy too, because we know that when we talk about, for example, ministries of foreign affairs, one of main activities behind political activities, it's always presentation of national culture outside, which means that any country consider culture as part of diplomacy as part of introducing their specific identities. And we gave funds to culture. And in Greece, we have few steps how it was developed, the process of funding of culture. And at the beginning, at the earlier steps, when the festival was raised, the one of the main issue was that there was competition between citizens who will spend money. Maybe this is very difficult to imagine now, but the ancient Greeks, they think that it was honor to spend money to organize the festivals. Later on, there was state appointment. State decided which family must spend money. And there was also interesting issues that families could apply to the court in case that mentioned that some other families are more rich than they and they must pay for organizing of the festivals. And the third step was when state decide to fund festivals directly. And this is the beginning, starting point of the philosophy, of the idea of funding art and culture from the state, because the state, the community who ruled at that time Athens, they realize that this is part of the state policy to give funds to arts, and specifically we talk about performing arts, and we can consider this as the very beginning origin of the history of the subsidy of the culture coming from the state. And this is very important because then we can find what the difference between the Western approach, how it starts, how it's coming from ancient democracy, how it starts from the Athens culture and the habits, and how now we try to repeat these best cases, which was 25, 26 centuries ago, and try to find a new approach for it. And now most of the countries, we know that they have state policies, cultural policy. And cultural policy need to make very clear what is the tools, what is the models, and so on, how we can reach funding for our activities in the culture. And state cultural funding system and models in different countries, they are very different. And the artists who working in this field, sometimes they need to study more to find how they can use state cultural policy as applied tool. And go back to the history, to medieval centuries, when we have a so-called development of the street uh, performances. At that time, Christianity already destroys the ancient tradition of performing arts and festivals, but we can find out how performing arts, how the artists became travelers. And it means that we have also the process when artists create this international cooperation through traveling from city to city, from country to country. And this is also part of Western history, and we need to have it in our mind. And most interesting, I think, it's Italian experience, because also when we talk about Italy and when we talk about Commedia dell'arte, this is the first example of origin of professional acting companies. And from this time, we consider the beginning of professional Western theater. And it's interesting that Commedia dell'arte, starting from 13th century and later on, they start traveling not only in Italy, but they move to the north. They move to France, and from France they reach Britain. And this is very unique process. We can find how Italian professional theater influence to develop the French theater, and then we can find how, for example, at least Moliere's plays related with original plots from Italy and to Roman and Greek culture, and at the end how the British culture was influenced by medieval Italian professionals. And this is also a very good example of international cooperation in past. how different cultures, how different uh, representatives of different cities influence to develop the other countries and other professionals. And this is also one of the way of cultural diplomacy coming through the ground. Sometimes we use also the term definition as people's diplomacy. And this way we can clearly mention that this historical process was also part of the people's diplomacy to introduce each other and to share the culture. And always one of important issue to make practical international cooperation, we always gave the question and where we can apply and how it works, because we always need to find and reach some sources for the funding. And this is quite important. And we always need to know that in different countries, there is specific organizations and these organizations are responsible for specific fundings. But same times in Europe, we have a lot of discussions. And during these discussions, we come to the definition of value-based society. And without values, it's very important to talk about international cooperation, and it's very difficult to talk about mm, uh, cultural diplomacy. And first what coming on my mind, this is artistic responsibility, because it's already related with values. And artist as the citizen, it's not enough only to create your art. You already need to belong to your citizenship. In this case we talk about European citizenship, not only belong to one specific country, but to bring the general common value of a big society. And also important to have in mind how we can move from identity to identity, because to share common responsibility for society, for needs which we have, and then we can talk about a lot of very important issues like tolerance, empathy, and a lot of processes which are very important. At same time, come idea that we are quite close to idea to discuss to become holders of European passports and not only just national passports. It's a change, of course, the mind. And for European and international practice, there is quite different possibilities, and I'm sure all of you know, and we can consider that we have the state funds on a federal level, we have the regional, municipal funds, programs and foundations who are responsible to support cooperation, private charities, donors, sponsors, and crowdfunding. And everything is related, not only just our ideas to create some project, but also it's important to have some specific skills, and these specific skills related also with managerial skills. And we need professional managers who experienced in international cooperation. We need producers, we need agents. And important step is research, because without marketing research or without cultural research, audience research as well development, it will be very difficult to create at the end proposal for international cooperation, which will be good also for funders. And sometimes this is very crucial issue. And of course, very important moment, this is the networking, because without networking, it's impossible to go farther in your ideas for international cooperation. And this project also, which we have now, this is also a result of the networking. Without networking, will be difficult to find partners, to convince them to develop the project together, and so on. And performing arts also needs are to develop from local markets to international markets. And this is very important, because sometimes working only in one geographical spot, in one city, in one country, it's not enough. It's why we need not only local, but we need international audience, international markets related with language changer, with translation, local cultures, and this is different aspects, yes. And sometimes we need to have in mind that we have the language geography, and the language geography gave us audience which can be English speakers, Francophone, Spanish speaker, Arab speaking, and so on. And we need always to have in mind these aspects too when we talk about international cooperation. And there is a lot of practices and cases what we can use, and involvement of actors from the other countries. This was very interesting experiment started from 60s and developed in 70s, and Peter Brook was also one of the first who started this international companies for the different projects, inviting actors from different geographical areas. And as joke, we always take historical fact about Hamlet and sailors. When the British sailors reach one of the African countries and they performed Hamlet as comedy, and sometimes we make this joke for our students that the British sailors make the first Shakespearean translation for African presentation. And this is also part of the international cooperation, and this is also part of cultural diplomacy. And the translations we have with already quite long history, and in Greek and Roman text translations it goes through all medieval centuries till now, and this is translations one of the tools for cultural exchange and international cooperation, etc., etc. We can find a lot of examples for it. And just to remind you that responsible institutions for international cooperation, there are quite many. And we have the very good Western tradition of the countries who have the special organizations, sometime on a state level, who are responsible for cooperation between countries. And of course, we need to have in mind that institutes and networks are very important for such kind of cooperation, and also important horizontal management to be more activate than the vertical management. And then we can go to different institutions like UNESCO and International Theatre Institute, which consider to have around 90 offices in countries, but for this moment it might be less. But anyway, juridically, it can be this number. Also, quite important network is Informal European Theatre Network, ITM, where we have more than 40 countries. European Festival Association, EFA, where we have more than 45 countries. European Dance Development Network, etc., etc. I just mentioned just few big organizations which might be very helpful for your future activities in the way of international cooperation to find partners quickly. At same time, there is also government organizations on a national level, and also European funding. For European funding, this is quite famous now, Creative Europe program, and this program today also supported by the Creative Europe. And if you go to the web page of European Commission, you can find the different calls, different programs coming from European Union as initiative and as applied tool for the artists. For cultural cooperation, also possible to use Erasmus Plus program. And now also there is possibility to apply for Horizon program. All these programs have very specific guidelines that need quite time to make research and to be uh, qualified enough to apply, because it needs several steps to prepare, to find partners, to make content, and so on and so on. And of course, we looking for the different funds for the basic needs. And for the basic need, it means that what we would like to promote in European Union. This is to change the mind and to change the exist understanding uh, cultural subsidy as investment, because it's very important when politicians realize that the culture it's not field which need subsidy. It's not a charitable act. It's not that state just gave this money to culture and it's enough to make artists free from other needs, but it's more important to realize from politicians, from the state stakeholders, that giving funds and giving money to culture, this is investment for the future of the country development. And of course, this future is related with international cooperation, with cultural diplomacy, uh, with better understanding between communities, between different countries. And of course, the access to apply to such kind of funds, it's important, first of all, to realize that you need to have juridical body, because for many artists, it's not very clear how to work, and they need to start with realizing that they need to have juridical body as institution, organization. It's up to them, and most important to have international networking and international partners, because without international partnership you can't make any application, because the all international funds going to cooperation for cooperation. It means that at least 3 countries and more than 3 countries must take part in our project to be considered for the funding in future. And international partners is very important. And for sure, we need the new ideas, innovation, and creativity in our projects to be supported by European Commission funding. And also we need managers. We need the generation of managers, because management is applied science, and we need cultural managers on university levels, and managers can become later on producers, impresarios, agents. It's up their decision how they would like to work in future with companies or on independent way. And necessary also to know very well the funding system, and also the artists need to know very well the basic skills for the project management, because any funding today related with applications, and application need to be developed on a professional way, and without these professional skills it will be quite difficult to get to the funds, to reach this fund, and to get support to the projects and ideas which we realized. And always to do work for fundraising, it's was also part of old ancient festivals. Today we can consider different forms of cooperation, and I will bring some examples how it can be looked. First of all, this is networks, platforms, associations, and foundations. Very important way of cooperation. This is co-productions, when 2 or 3 countries come together to create some artistic work together. Also, institutes which like NGOs, non-governmental organizations. Festivals, it's also a very good way for international cooperation. Residencies and NAT project also include residencies, participants from different countries who come together to share ideas and to work together. Uh, on my point of view, also quite important showcases. And the showcases to present national culture, or showcases related with some specific topics. And there is also cases of experience in Spain and in Italy, when showcases include also the pitching elements. Before, the pitching was mostly related with TV and cinema, and now performing arts use a lot, and this is quite good part of showcases, also to present the future projects to find the donors and possible partners. Competitions also part of possible tools for international cooperation, and many countries use, and we have different. And pitching, as I mentioned before, for the joint actions and so on. Also important to mention who are responsible for international cooperation. And this is ministries of culture and ministries of foreign affairs, embassies. And then we can mention specific institutions who are responsible for it. I think most of you know it very well. The Goethe Institute is responsible to promote German culture, but I can tell you that last 10 years, the policy of the Goethe Institute is not to be only the so-called ambassador for the German culture, but also to be advocate for European culture. And in many countries now, you can see that the Goethe Institute, which always have nice spaces, nice venues, they gave a lot of access to other European countries, also the national cultures, to be a partner in exchange and promote of the cultural projects and activities. French Institute responsible for the French cooperation, British Council for the British arts, the Dante Institute involved in Italian partnerships, Cervantes for Spain, Japan Foundation, and so on. We can go through, and the Pro Helvetia to work with the Switzerland, Kulturkontakt for Austria. Of course, all these institutes every year they change the policy guidelines, and it's important to have good research and study to have possibility to use these funds and to use this partnership and cooperation. Now, I would like to briefly present a few new programs in European Union which directly related with performing arts. And one of these programs is EFEA, which is a special funding program for emergence artists through festivals, which means that festivals can apply for this program to get some funding to help emerging young artists for creation and later to be presented on a festival. Another one is Perform Europe. This is also important because specifically there was no before special funds for performing arts traveling, and this program gave access to companies to get some funds to go from one country to another country. And this is the new approach for European Union to support performing arts specifically with such programs and funds. And Culture Moves Europe. This is also one of the possibility to get some grants for the funds. This is about a fair. It's program till 26. For this moment, quite many artists, festivals take part in this program and they get support and access for international cooperation, exchange, and Perform Europe also still on. It's also possible to use by artists. This is, as I mentioned, about 40 European countries who take part, and the representatives of this country program till 26, and artists still have possibility to apply and use this opportunity. This is just some timeline for deadlines which you can use for it. And this was very briefly what I have in mind to share with you, to mix historical aspects and also some needs from today. And as Roberta mentioned at the beginning, I'm ready to respond on your questions.
Thank you very much, Levan, for showing us the complexity of what cultural cooperation means at international level, and for making also this historical overview, which is very important because it recalls us as artists to the roots and to the journey that was done so far. This is very important also about the responsibility of the artists, which is a main topic for us, and shows also how complex are these engines of the international projects, which have behind also a lot of other professional figures who are not on the stage and do not take applause, like the project managers who've been working for years to prepare the ground for the artists' work as well. Thank you so much, Levan, and I take the chance also to thank very much all the artists who are here in this Zoom, who were selected to take part in the EcoArts residencies, and who, as I said, come from Romania, from Georgia, from Turkey, from Cyprus, and from Italy. And I would like just to ask Fabio Tolledi, our artistic director, if he wants to say something after Levan's masterclass. Before then, we will have our Zoom time for questions and answers after we stop this live streaming. Thank you, Fabio.
Good morning to everybody. I don't need to say nothing about, but also Robert asked me to speak, and also I will try to just to say that also is the first step. We have to face a very extraordinary, delicate moment in all our countries involved. So we know that in Georgia the situation is very, very terrible and difficult, and also in Romania too. And also we have hosted in the last 4 days an initiative to support Gaza and Palestinians actors and actresses, and with a very, very touching experience of these days. And also every part, so we know the historical situation of Cyprus too is a very, very terrible moment, I think, historically. And also, of course, that cultural diplomacy is not only a title, is a real need of our moment, of our historical moment. For this reason, I think that we have to try to find the right way to work together and to launch an important initiative for our future and for the next generation too. So tomorrow we will have my other masterclass, and I think that Roberto will present too. But also we have to start to know each other. This is the first step, and also to be very curious about our different experiences that we have. And also I think that we will do our best, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fabio. Thank you very much again to Professor Levan Khetaguri, and to all the artists and the partners who participated in this masterclass. As Fabio Tolledi said, tomorrow there will be the second masterclass, which will be on theater ecology. So another important, crucial topic for our project, Nature Arts Technologies, but not only. It's a crucial topic for all the artists worldwide. So now we can finish the live streaming and then remain on Zoom for questions to Professor Khetaguri. Thank you very much to all the people who could watch this very interesting masterclass. Thank you.